Oh, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News here on 13 News Now Plus. It is a fresh start, a new week, and it is Thanksgiving week at that. 1 o'clock p.m. sharp on November 24th. Thanksgiving just days away, but that doesn't mean that there's not news to cover. Some of it related to the holiday, much of it not. I'm here, of course, as always, with the People's producer, Nia Campbell. Nia, welcome to another week of Live Impact News.
Hello, how are you doing?
I am doing excellent because we begin this week with breaking news here on Live Impact. Just came across our desk not 15 minutes ago. A federal judge has dismissed the criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey and current New York Attorney General Letitia James, concluding that the prosecutor who brought the charges at President Donald Trump's urging was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. I want to state that once again just to be clear. A federal judge has dismissed the criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey and current New York Attorney General Letitia James. That judge has concluded that the prosecutor who brought the charges at the behest of Donald Trump was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. Now, that prosecutor is Lindsay Halligan. She is the latest Trump administration prosecutor to be disqualified because of the manner in which she was appointed. So, that is the breaking news of the day. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper into this case because it relates very closely back to Hampton Roads when it comes to New York Attorney General Letitia James. You may recall that Letitia James was in Norfolk in late October in order to submit her plea in this case because the charges against her revolve around a property that is located in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, Letitia James pleaded not guilty to 2 counts, one of bank fraud and 1 count of making false statements to a financial institution. She was in a Norfolk federal courtroom for her arraignment when she made that not guilty plea. Now, Letitia James also considered a political opponent of current President Donald Trump, and she is someone who has brought cases against Donald Trump from her position as New York Attorney General. Now, the trial for Letitia James was initially scheduled for January 26, 2026. But now that case, as we stated, has been thrown out by a federal judge. So this is a situation where Letitia James had a property in Norfolk, and the charges stem from allegations that she signed a document agreeing to keep that property solely for personal use. But the charges once again say that she instead rented it to a family of 3. Now, she says that that is not the case. She denies these charges and she denies her guilt in this situation. She called this nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. So that is currently the situation with Letitia James. That case has now been thrown out. Let's talk a little bit about Lindsay Halligan. Lindsay Halligan, and I'm getting a note here from producer Nia Campbell. What's going on, Nia? What do you got for me?
ABC is taking a special report on this. We can take this live right now.
Okay, ABC with a special report on this. Let's go live to ABC for more on these 2 criminal cases that have been dismissed.
Prejudice, meaning in theory it could be refiled. There may be, at least in the case of former FBI Director James Comey, statute of limitations that will butt up against the possibility of refiling the charges. So the path forward is a bit uncertain, but for now, as reflected in the statement from Letitia James, she said she is heartened by what she's calling today's victory. Kira?
President Trump has suggested going after others. Do you think what we're seeing happening today will stop him from doing that?
Well, there's certainly no telling. He has made clear that he is on a retribution campaign against his perceived political enemies. That could include Senator Adam Schiff. If that's all going to be concentrated in one prosecutorial district, the Eastern District of Virginia, there seemingly are problems that other cases could run into with the way Lindsay Halligan was appointed. We know that there may be separate investigations in other places. When it comes to Letitia James, the Northern District of New York in Albany is also believed to be investigating Letitia James. The prosecutor there may also have problems with the way he was appointed, Kira, at least according to James and her attorneys. So this campaign of retribution may not be as easy to come by as President Trump had hoped.
Aaron Katursky, thank you. Karen Travers, Pierre Thomas, also our John Carl. Thank you all so much. Our coverage does continue on ABC News Live at abcnews.com. David Muir will be here with the entire team for World News Tonight. I'm Kira Phillips. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you over on Live.
And of course, we'll have coverage of this story all day today, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right here on 13 News Now, and continuing coverage now on Live Impact News. So we just spoke about Letitia James. The criminal case against her has been thrown out. She is the New York Attorney General, but the reason this relates so closely back to home here in Hampton Roads is because she was charged with 2 counts, bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution revolving around a property that she owned here in Norfolk, Virginia. She claimed that that property would just be for personal use. The charges were brought against her based on claims that that was not the case. She denied those charges, and now those charges have been dismissed by a federal judge. They've been dismissed based on the fact that the prosecutor who brought the charges was, how do we say this, appointed improperly or appointed illegally by the Justice Department. That prosecutor is Lindsay Halligan. She is the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. She was appointed after a previous U.S. District Attorney, Eric Seibert, stepped down. Now, he stepped down following reports that he would not pursue a fraud case against Letitia James. His replacement did pursue that case, and that case has now been thrown out. Now, what we're going to do, somewhat unorthodox here, we're actually going to play Letitia James's speech from when she walked out of the Norfolk courthouse after making her not guilty plea. So this speech is from about a month ago. At the end of October, Letitia James had just submitted 2 not guilty pleas to the 2 charges brought against her. She exited the courthouse and she gave a speech to the assembled media and many others, many people outside the courthouse to support Letitia James, primarily after she put in those not guilty pleas. She exited the courthouse, she gave a speech, and as of today, those charges have been thrown out. So we're actually going to play that speech from late October after that not guilty plea. Let's go to that now.
Thank all of you. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank you for your prayers. I want to thank you for your emails. I want to thank you for your support. It has strengthened my spirit and it has anchored my soul. And so I want to thank you. But this is not about me. This is about all of us. And about a justice system which has been weaponized. A justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. This justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. And a weapon against those individuals who simply did their job and who stood up for the rule of law. And a justice system which unfortunately is nothing being used as a vehicle of retribution. But my faith is strong. And my faith is, I have this belief in the justice system, in the rule of law, and I have a belief in America and all of its individuals who have stood with me, not only in New York, but all across this nation. I've heard from just about every jurisdiction in this nation who have said, stand up and be tall. And never, ever cow down or back down or break or bend. So there's no fear today. No fear. No fear. No fear. No fear. Because I believe that justice will rain down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Preach. And I'm here to say that my work and my job and all that I do, all throughout my public career, I've stood up for the rights of New Yorkers and Americans, and I will not be deterred. And I will not be deterred. I will not be distracted. I will do my job each and every day, and that's why I'm headed back to New York, because there's work to be done standing up for the rule of law. God bless you and thank you all, and I appreciate you.
You actually may remember when we covered that story here on Live Impact News and at 13 News Now at the end of October. And just watching it again, you can hear the vocal support. I mean, that is not just media gathered outside the courtroom. There was a crowd of people, and based on what we can hear, the majority of them supporting Letitia James, sort of a call and response as she asked them to join in with her as she made some strong statements, and she said she will not be deterred. As of today, not deterred, as those criminal charges against Letitia James have been thrown out. 2 criminal charges that were brought against her for a property that she owned here in Norfolk. Those criminal charges asserting that she had lied about the use of that property, and that case thrown out now as of today, as of about 20 minutes ago, by a federal judge. I do want to go over this one more time. This order throwing this case out deals exclusively with the mechanism that the Trump administration used to appoint Lindsay Halligan. She's a former White House aide. She had no prior experience as a prosecutor, and she was appointed to one of the Justice Department's most important offices. And that is why this case has been thrown out, because of the means by which Lindsay Halligan was appointed to be a U.S. attorney. The U.S. attorney that was in office before Lindsay Halligan was appointed stepped down. And he stepped down amid reports that he was not willing to bring these charges against James Comey and against Letitia James. She took his place, she brought the charges, and now the charges have been dismissed under the grounds that her appointment was not carried out in the proper way. So that is today's breaking news. We will continue to monitor our live feeds in case we get any live information or press conferences on this case. But for now, that is the breaking news that you need to know today, and the breaking news that 13 News Now will be following very closely throughout the day as we progress, and I'm sure into this week. James Comey and Letitia James, the criminal charges against them thrown out by a federal judge due to the way in which the prosecutor was appointed that was bringing that case against them. So, Norfolk, Virginia, in national headlines once again, and those national headlines continue to roll in when it comes to the Trump administration and Letitia James and the back and forth that they have had, as once again, Letitia James, as New York's Attorney General, has brought cases against Donald Trump as well. Okay, so right off the bat, we had to get that breaking news to you. We want to make sure on this Monday that we set you up for the week that is to come with the climate, with the weather. It's a holiday week. Everyone's looking at possibly traveling, spending time with family. We want to make sure that you know everything you need to know about the forecast. So we're going to listen in on Craig Moeller's forecast from earlier today, just a couple hours ago. Make sure you're all prepped for anything you need for your Thanksgiving holiday. And then we'll dive into more headlines from the weekend that was and the Monday that is once Mr. Moeller is finished.
Day's been good so far. We've certainly seen a lot of sunshine through the morning and now into the afternoon. Really looking nice across Hampton Roads. Yesterday's high was 63. Today it is cooler. Temperatures are going to top out upper 50s. Some inland areas in the low 60s. We did get a little bit of precipitation on Saturday, but we were dry Sunday and so far dry today. It will continue to be dry through the afternoon, and it looks like tonight into early Tuesday, still dry, but chances for rain will go up late Tuesday into Wednesday. You look at the next 9 hours, as I mentioned, upper 50s, that's near the coast, inland areas low 60s. Skies are going to be clear heading into the evening. And then tomorrow morning, we'll start off with temperatures low to mid 40s, a little bit cooler inland. Our rain chances non-existent today. As we go through the day tomorrow, we'll start to see those chances going up a little bit into the evening, and then better chances for isolated to scattered wet weather early on Wednesday through the late morning, and then chances decreasing later in the day on Wednesday. You'll notice Thursday a very low risk. That would be maybe around midnight or 1 a.m. And even then, I don't think we'll see much. I think it'll pretty much be out. Friday and Saturday will be mostly sunny, but it's going to turn chillier. So temperatures today below average. Tomorrow upper 60s. We're back above average. Wednesday's high close to 70, and then cooler air comes in Thanksgiving and into Black Friday and the following Saturday. Look at the sky view right now from the Thompson Creek Window Company. This is the view from Nauticus looking across the Elizabeth River. Sunshine, 55, north winds 9 miles per hour. Inland areas getting into the upper 50s. These areas are going to be in the low 60s this afternoon. It'll be a little cooler right at the coast. Here's a look at the satellite and the radar images. Quiet here. That's because high pressure is dominating locally. We do have a storm system out to the west. This is going to slide eastward. Notice the storms down across Arkansas and Texas. Down that way, there's a slight risk or a level 2 risk of severe storms from East Texas through much of Louisiana and southern portions of Mississippi as well. Now, you take a look. The one thing I wanted to mention, because it's early, but it's still a travel day today, tomorrow, huge travel day, and Wednesday as well. We're going to be watching what's going on. This is going to work eastward, but today we do have this kind of elevated threat for isolated tornadoes down in this same area, Texas into Louisiana and southern Mississippi. So we'll be keeping a close eye to that. Some of the areas you'll notice most of Houston under a level 1 kind of elevated threat. Then you get into that second tier as you head north of Houston, back across central portions of Louisiana, Alexandria. Think about Monroe, some of those areas back into Jackson, Mississippi. Those are the areas we're really going to be watching. Now for today, I mentioned high pressure and control, sunshine, straightforward, a north wind keeping us cool today. Temperatures later tonight dropping back down, low to mid 40s around the coast. We'll see 30s inland, clouds on the increase tomorrow, and then we watch the radar. Looks like we'll see chances for showers late in the day, and as we get into the evening, kind of hit and miss. Better chances for scattered wet weather Wednesday morning through midday, and then things should improve, but there could still be a leftover shower or two a little bit later on Wednesday into early Thursday. For Thanksgiving, we should see that clearing shortly after midnight, and we're looking forward to a lot more sunshine on Thursday. Highs today, upper 50s to low 60s. As I mentioned, to the north, you're going to find mid 50s to upper 50s along the eastern shore. Close to 59, Hampton and Newport News, 61 at Williamsburg, Gloucester 59, low 60s at the Outer Banks, and low to mid 60s inland across northeast North Carolina. Tonight's low down around 44. That's for the airport inland areas in the upper 30s. Tomorrow, 67, getting warmer, and that warming trend will continue into Wednesday. After that, the bottom falls out. 52 on Thursday and highs in the upper 40s for Friday and Saturday. A lot cooler there as we finish out the week and get into the weekend. Sunday's high back up around 59. If you're traveling, be careful and have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, there you have it. Craig Moeller with a relatively encouraging Thanksgiving forecast, I suppose. We've got warm days with rain. We've got cold days with no rain. So no day really comes together until we get to maybe Sunday there as a fully beautiful, perfect day for us. But that's okay because a lot of that Thanksgiving time can be spent inside with family, having some good food, and maybe watching some good football. So we want to make sure that we keep you posted on anything you might need for travel, especially though, and it does look like there will be some rain. So be careful on the roads if you happen to be traveling during those times. All right, now we've got a couple of other things going on right now. We do want to go over some things that came up this weekend. I'm going to do some very quick hitters really fast here, and then we'll move on to some sound that we got from earlier today. So there was a meeting in Geneva, Switzerland over the weekend to go over the peace plan that was proposed by America to potentially end the war between Ukraine and Russia. Now, the opposition to that plan have called it Ukrainian capitulation, which means that the Ukrainian side would be giving more than they necessarily should. They would be bending to Russia in some way. That is what opposition to this plan have called it, Ukrainian capitulation. On Monday morning, President Trump posted on Truth Social this morning, hinting that there may be some progress coming on that peace plan. As of right now, it's something that is still being worked on. Nothing has been agreed to, and the war continues as we speak between Ukraine and Russia. Elsewhere, when it comes to conflict, Israel struck Beirut, the Lebanon capital, for the first time in months, killing a Hezbollah chief of staff. 5 killed and 28 were injured, according to the Lebanon Health Ministry, as Israel strikes the capital of Lebanon, Beirut, for the first time in months. That's the first time they've struck the capital in months. Elsewhere, Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned her post, or announced her intention to resign her post on Monday in a video that she posted to her social media. Once one of President Donald Trump's staunchest supporters, recently there has been conflict between the two. President Trump has noted that she has broken from the MAGA movement. Marjorie Taylor Greene has said that she has not changed, that potentially the movement has changed, or the Republican Party has changed. And so there has been a fracture between President Donald Trump and one of his longtime supporters in the federal government, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and now Greene announcing her intention to resign on Friday. Now, we do have the video that she played when she chose to resign, her message to her constituents and others. And Naya, I see that you've pulled that up. Perhaps we should go ahead and play that now, since we had it as a part of our quick hitters. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's dig into this video, and we'll dig into some of President Donald Trump's statements on the matter, and then we'll move forward here on Live Impact News.
I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor, or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest, and the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass a plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster, but instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas, just sit. They all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much, their rent has increasingly gone up and up, they have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house, they have been laid off after being forced to train their visa holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big 6-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. Good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard-left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back. And I showed up in places like outside the New York courthouse in Collect Pond Park against a raging leftist mob as Trump faced Democrat lawfare. Meanwhile, most of the establishment Republicans who secretly hate him and who stabbed him in the back and never defended him against anything have all been welcomed in right after the election. And I will never forget the day I had to leave my mother's side as my father had brain surgery to remove cancerous tumors in order to fly to Washington, D.C. to defend President Trump and vote no against the Democrats' second impeachment in 2021. My poor father and my poor mother, it was way too much for all of us. Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promises and only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt for life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than that, my voting record has been solidly with my party and the president. Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of non-stop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless America.
Okay, so that was the statement from Marjorie Taylor Greene announcing her intention to resign from her position as a United States representative. Now, we want to read you a Truth Social post from 2 days ago from President Donald Trump. This was at 6:45 a.m. on November 22nd. He said, Marjorie Traitor Brown, because of plummeting poll numbers and not wanting to face a primary challenger with a strong Trump endorsement, where she would have no chance of winning, has decided to call it quits. Her relationship with the worst Republican congressman in decades, Tom Massey of Kentucky, also known as Rand Paul Jr. because he votes against the Republican Party and really good legislation, did not help her. For some reason, primarily that I refused to return her never-ending barrage of phone calls, Marjorie went bad. Nevertheless, I will always appreciate Marjorie and thank her for her service to our country, President DJT. Sorry if that sounded a little bit scattered reading that out, but obviously the first line right away, you can understand the tone of the message, Marjorie Traitor Brown. So calling her traitor as a nickname, and whether it was a mistake or not, changing her last name from Green to Brown, and then mentioning plummeting poll numbers and not wanting to face a challenger with President Trump's endorsement, where she would lose, ostensibly. So that is Donald Trump's comment on the matter. You heard Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments on the matter, and it is unquestionably a falling out between two people who had been politically aligned for some time. Marjorie Taylor Greene, again, one of President Donald Trump's staunchest supporters in Congress and most vocal supporters in Congress for a long time. And now, obviously, that is no longer the case, with President Trump sending out that tweet and Marjorie Taylor Greene deciding to resign as there is a fracture between two of the sort of pillars of the MAGA movement here. Okay, let's move on to a live event that's happening right now. A story of enormous interest years ago. 22-year-old Morgan Geyser. You may remember Morgan Geyser from the Slender Man incident in 2014. Morgan Geyser, then a young girl, stabbed a friend 19 times to appease the fictional character of Slender Man. Well, she was just captured on Sunday night after she allegedly fled the group home where she was being held. She had a monitoring bracelet from the Department of Corrections. She cut that bracelet off and left the group home where she had been a resident, and she was captured late Sunday night. There's now a live press conference happening in Wisconsin where she was captured. Let's listen in on that press conference right now.
So the warrant that you're speaking of, is that issued by Dane County or the state, or?
The Department of Health Services did forward that warrant to our intake judge last night, and the intake judge, from what I saw this morning, did sign that.
So it's a Waukesha County warrant?
Correct.
Because DHS requested it.
This is out of Waukesha County. That's why it will come back to Waukesha County for the decision if a petition to revoke her conditional release is filed.
All right, I think that's a little why this is a little confusing, because is there a criminal case in Dane County then? Is that a crime to cut your bracelet off if you're not under a criminal?
Certainly is. Again, this is a Dane County decision. As I looked at the statute, it looks like you can escape, be charged with a felony for escaping under a 971 commitment. Also, if there was damage to the bracelet when she cut it off, which I assume that there would be, that would be a crime as well. But again, that's outside Waukesha County's purview. That would be a decision. Law enforcement in Dane County, who leads the investigation, would refer charges over if they believed it was appropriate, and the Dane County DA's office would make that decision.
So just to clarify, I apologize.
No, that's okay.
The warrant that she would be returned to Wisconsin on would be a Waukesha County warrant. She would be returned to Waukesha County in custody?
That's what I believe, because it's still under the custody of DHS. But again, this is her home county for charging purposes. Therefore, I believe she will be returned to Waukesha County.
Thanks, Elsa.
At any point down the line, could you guys press any other charges?
Not in Waukesha unless we have jurisdiction to charge crimes that occur in Waukesha, and because she was in Dane County, those are the first that occurred in Dane County. With regards to the conditional release, her violations of that order, which were as a result of a Waukesha County judge ordering it, that would be what would lead to a petition to revoke her conditional release.
And maybe Abby could speak to this, I'm not
Yes.
sure, but what is it that concerns you about her leaving as far as her being dangerous, I guess, or danger to herself or others, which was the standard, right, that the judge went by, or at least that's what that he said at the time?
Right. I think that one thing that is very concerning to me is that if and when a petition is filed by the department to revoke conditional release, it will be the second one that is filed, because we were here in March on a petition to revoke conditional release already. And so it's extremely concerning that you would so blatantly violate a very, very simple condition, which is to stay in a placement and keep a bracelet on. And that we have no idea what was going on is extremely concerning to the state, because immediately my thoughts went to the victim and keeping the community safe. But as additional information is gathered, that would be the kind of facts that are put into a petition to revoke, and that would be what is litigated at that motion hearing before the court, when I'd be able to gather more information, whether there are specifics about the dangerousness. But I think those blatant acts in themselves certainly
custody with her, or in her presence when she was arrested. You know anything about that person, where they played a role in her absconding?
We do not know any information about that person. That was information we had received, that there was a person that was outside the placement location, but I don't have any information about that at all.
But Abby, you were concerned at that earlier revocation hearing about people that were in touch with her even while she was still at Winnebago, correct? Outside people that were contacting her, influencing her?
Right. There's a certain notoriety here that is of concern, that there are people that kind of sought her out, that there was some concern about communication with those types of people. We also had concern at that point with what seemed to be kind of a pushback in terms of Ms. Geiser's acknowledgement of the extent to which she'd be monitored, in terms of my reading material is going to be, that didn't seem consistent with someone that was ready to make that next step into the community.
But you have no way of knowing if this person was one of those that you were concerned about, was in contact with her at that time?
I don't know.
Would all of this happening impact a future request for conditional release?
Certainly when those requests are made, I look back through the record in terms of assessments that have been done throughout the history of a case, and so I would say yes.
And just for the general public, I mean, because this isn't a sentence she was facing per se, but she still is under the control of the state, so there's leeway as to whether she is in custody or in state care in a facility or outside a facility, that type of thing. That's what you're talking about, trying to get her back to that previous level that she was inside Winnebago.
Right. Ultimately, if the petition to revoke conditional release were granted, she would go back to that institutional care placement, which would be a hospital facility.
Which is more secure, obviously, than
Right.
community-based facility.
Right, exactly.
Could you walk us back, just for clarity again, on the process of contacting the Leitner family once it was clear that Ms. Geiser disappeared?
Certainly. I can tell you that I was informed yesterday morning about Ms. Geiser escaping from her placement. Prior to me even getting notification of that, I believe Ms. Nicolai and Ms. Dunn, who's the head of victim witness, also received that notification. Immediately, Ms. Dunn contacted the victim and her family to make sure that they knew about it. They did not know anything about it. We wanted to make sure that they were safe and that they had a plan in place. And I know that Ms. Dunn has been in contact with the family pretty consistently since then, offering services. And again, it was verified before we came up here that in fact, no one did contact them. Again, I would have expected that the Department of Health Services would have contacted them to let them know. Obviously, we want to safeguard her safety and the community's safety, because frankly, when she's released, based upon some of the evidence that came out previous hearings, we have concerns about the safety of the community as well.
Just for clarity, she was at that group home for, what was the duration? Was it September?
The judge, the final plan and placement was signed September 17th, I believe, and I'd like to take credit for knowing that, but again, Attorney Nikolai is the one who put together the timeline, and that was the time. So when she got to the facility, we're not sure, but that's when the court signed the order for the placement.
Looking back, do you wish that there would have been more communication between your office and a group home like that? Is that something maybe moving forward you would like to see?
Again, we're not, once the conditional release plan was signed, we really are not involved in the case. The people, DHS, they're the ones whose custody she has been given to. They would be the ones that would control that day-to-day. And again, I don't know what that communication is. It could have been a daily communication. It could have been a weekly communication. I'm not sure. You'd have to reach out to DHS to see exactly what that consists of. Again, our goal in our position is to hold people accountable. Certainly that's why Attorney Nikolai had advocated for the conditional release not to be granted, because that was part of the accountability and keeping our community safe.
Do you feel like there should be some mechanism to notify families in a case like this?
Absolutely. I've reached out to already some legislative personnel to see if we can't address that issue. I think that that's wrong.
Any other final questions?
Thank you very much.
All right, so there you have it. Live from Wisconsin, an update on, again, a case that back in 2014 and in the years following, enormous national interest due to the circumstances. Again, this is referring to Morgan Geyser. Morgan Geyser in 2014 stabbed a friend 19 times in order to appease the fictional character Slender Man. Geyser is just 22 years old now. So you can do the math at how young she was back in 2014 when she committed this crime. And she has been staying in a group home. She had an ankle monitoring bracelet. She cut that off and she escaped the group home. She was then taken into custody at a truck stop in Posen, Illinois, with a 42-year-old man who she had traveled across state lines with, according to the Posen Police Department, in a statement that they released this morning. The police found the pair sleeping on a sidewalk. So, an update on a case that we haven't heard about in some time, certainly one that we didn't expect to be covering today, but a new development in the Slender Man stabbing from 2014. But Morgan Geyser, again, has been apprehended at this time. Okay, now we did have an event that happened earlier today, this morning. New York Governor Kathy Hochul took to the podium to discuss affordability. Affordability, a major topic everywhere. I mean, affordability was the focus of the Abigail Spanberger gubernatorial campaign here in Virginia. Many politicians, especially many Democratic politicians during this election cycle, turned their attention to affordability and cost of living. It has been the focus of the past election cycle, perhaps for no one more so than Zohran Mamdani, who is the mayor-elect of New York City. Cost of living and affordability were repeatedly his focal points during his campaign. He is the mayor-elect of New York City, Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York State, and now she, earlier today, giving a press conference on affordability. Let's listen in on what the governor of New York had to say this Monday morning.
That is critically important to me as the governor, but also as the first mom governor, also the first grandma governor. And I spent a little bit of time with a baby who traveled a great distance to be held by grandma, a little 4-month-old. And so it reminded me of how beautiful the journey to parenthood is, but for many families it can also end in tragedy, and that's something we're looking really hard to prevent. So I want to thank Myla Flores for hosting us here today, and to hear her story and her commitment to women to make sure that they do have a healthy outcome. And I want to thank her and all the volunteers, all the workers here at this incredible clinic for what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing the womb bus, right? You're going to take me on a tour of the womb bus? So I appreciate that. We'll be hearing from you. Our borough president, Vanessa Gibson, this has been a passion of hers since our first conversations. She has been relentless in pushing for more services for the Bronx overall, but particularly when it comes to the fact that the Bronx is one of the highest rates of infant and maternal mortality rates in the state. And that is something she has worked hard to eradicate, and we've been partnering on a lot of initiatives. I want to thank her for what she has done. You're also going to hear from Bruce McIntyre from Save a Rose Foundation, who I said, personal stories can often lead to change in policies, and it's his profound story that he'll share with you that has touched the hearts of many of us and has fostered a different environment, a different attitude about the challenges that moms are facing when they go in for delivery. And also Marlene Rivera, who's a mom and an advocate, is going to talk to us. Also, I'm delighted to have our elected officials who've joined us here today. We have State Senator Gustavo Rivera is here. Thank you, Senator Rivera. Assembly Member Jeffrey Dinowitz, thank you. Assembly Member Udelka Tapia, thank you very much. And Councilmember Eric Dinowitz as well. So we just finished up a conversation in this very room. We sat with a number of moms and advocates and people telling their stories and talk about the challenges of pregnancy, the challenges of raising kids, which I know are very severe sometimes. But, it reminded me that parenting is one of the most greatest gifts we've ever been offered in life. It's something, despite the trials and tribulations, let's keep the light on the subject. It's a profound experience, but let's admit it, it's stressful, right? I mean, all the stresses of providing for the child, and if someone is struggling or perhaps a single parent, it's compounded. And so we have worked hard as a state to find ways to just help parents. I've said all along, your family is my fight, and I'm committed to that in various different ways. And one of them is making sure that the experience of childbirth is positive for you. That's why we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to leave your job and still get compensated for those prenatal visits. We are the first state in the nation that prioritizes the health of moms and babies before birth by saying you can have 20 hours of paid leave in this state, even if you would have ordinarily lost your income. If it's a minimum wage worker, if you don't show up, you're not paid. We've ended that here in the state of New York, and that's something I'm really proud of. And I think we're going to see much more positive outcomes because of that. We've also said, we understand the cost. The cost of parenting is off the charts, but in those very first months, the formula, if they're having formula, what you need to be a nursing mom or to buy the diapers. I mean, I had found out this weekend that the Pampers size 1 didn't work anymore. We had to go out and get Pampers size 2. So I have a fresh pack of Pampers size 1 if anybody wants them. up at the governor's residence. But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, the changes that, they change so quickly. And, the clothing, I went out and bought a couple of outfits. We're no longer 3 to 6 anymore. We're into starting the 6 to 9. And so, but these all add up. These all add up for families. And so we recognize that, as well as working with the legislature on putting more money back in people's pockets. And let's start with the fact that when I first became governor, parents with children under the age of 4 received zero. They got nothing. It had to be a 4-year-old and up in order to get $300 a year as a child tax credit. I said, no, that's just absolutely should be turned upside down. Parents with children under the age of 4 will get $1,000 starting this year, starting in January. They can start applying for that tax credit. So let's get the word out about that. We also launched November 1st this year, the first time ever, an $1,800 baby benefit for qualifying families with a newborn. If you're getting public assistance, you'll automatically get a check for $1,800 to cover that cost of the stroller and the car seat and all the other things that are so expensive. So that's more money back for parents, of course, as well. So also some of the families, I'm sure, received their inflation rebate. Just came out in the mail. A lot of people getting that, and I'm hearing a lot on that as we walk the streets. But I want to make sure that you know that that's money in your pockets, but let's zero in on maternal care and infant care when they're born. We know the statistics are staggering that black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die, and black babies are 2.5 times more likely to die in childbirth. It is, those numbers are staggering, and they feel so unnecessary. And you have to ask, what's at the heart of all this? And we've done a lot on this. We've issued policies to minimize unnecessary C-sections, for example, and we've promoted doulas, and I mentioned the doula directory and getting birthing centers in different places we can help, so we can avoid unnecessary C-sections. And we have time off for pumping moms. We have mental health services for moms. I mean, let's be honest, folks. It's a rare mom who doesn't need some extra help when the baby comes, just because your hormones are out of whack, and especially if you have other crying children. I had a couple close in age, so I don't want to go back there. Okay, I'm over now. The kids are having their own babies. I'm watching them go through it. So you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm talking about. So my job is to find programs that lift up families. I mean, life is hard enough, and you have a governor and a state that understands what you're going through. We need to be your allies. We need to be your partners. And we want to continue making sure we keep those investments. And so we talked about something about a year and a half ago. Vanessa Gibson hosted a roundtable for us in her office, and a lot of expected parents and advocates and members of the doula community and others who came and told their stories. And at the time, we invested $8 million to support the doulas here, but also to expand a maternal center for excellence here in the Bronx to help out families that are in need. But also, she kept saying this to me. She says, we used to have a birthing center. We are the first community to have a birthing center in New York, and then it closed. And her passion and her mission has been to have that restored. I am here to make that happen today. I am announcing today $5 million of state dollars to go toward helping this dream come true right here in the Bronx, to provide an alternative and support system for expectant moms and to make sure they are healthy and their babies are healthy. And we're going to get that done. So congratulations. We'll be making sure that we have a place where you'll hear Amber's story from Bruce, but a place where those stories are in the past. They don't happen anymore. Every mom who walks in to deliver a baby walks out. Being an expectant mom should not be a death sentence for women of color. And for far too long, that has been the case. And so we're going to keep these investments. This center will be serving at least 300 people the first year is the expectation. And so we're going to continue to expand from there. And so I want to make that happen, make sure that you know that New York State is the best place to raise a family. And we're going to continue being your partners and not your doula per se, but in one sense, your doula to help you get through it. So thank you, everyone. And again, I appreciate from the bottom of my heart the moms and the advocates who could be very focused on themselves and their own families and their children, and yet they take their stories and their advocacy all the way to the halls of Albany and here in the city of New York. And I'm so grateful that they lend themselves to that journey, which is so critically important. So with that, let me turn it over to our Bronx Borough President, a tremendous champion for families here and across the state, Vanessa Gibson.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Governor. I am so grateful to be here. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here at the Miriam Clinic right here in the beautiful Norwood community. This is a beautiful space. It is a reproductive health and wellness clinic and hub for so many of our mothers here in the Bronx, our expecting mothers, and many of our birthing individuals. Today, we take a giant step forward in our collective work to address maternal mortality and morbidity, to stand up for so many of our mothers here in the borough. Knowing the statistics, knowing the data, knowing that the disproportionate impact of Black and Latina women that are facing pregnancy-related complications due to insufficient health care. We believe in birthing centers, we believe in healing spaces, and we believe in spaces that are culturally relevant and significant with language diversity and real access. That is what today means for so many reasons. As the Bronx Borough President, creating a birthing center has been a strong part of our agenda agenda and our blueprint as borough president, we released a birthing report called Bronx Mothers Matter, because all of our women and birthing individuals matter when it comes to health equity and health justice. And today's announcement by Governor Kathy Hochul, the first mom governor, the first abuelita governor, first grandma, she has taken maternal mortality and morbidity as a major pillar of her agenda across the state of New York. This affordability announcement recognizes the important work that is happening right here at Miriam Clinic. All of our birth workers, doulas, and midwives that do this work every single day. We lift all of them out. We lift up their voices because their voices are powerful in this space. The stories that we have heard from so many mothers and women that have not felt that they have had a level playing field when they go to their doctors, we are the answer, and this is the answer. A $5 million commitment solidifies the impact of this work. The new baby benefit, that's important for so many of our working class families right here in the Bronx. Expanding our child tax credit. It matters when we show up for New Yorkers and for our families. And that is what Governor Kathy Hochul is doing every single day. And I'm so grateful that she is a friend to the Bronx. We have had roundtables with all of our birth workers, doulas, and midwives. We've talked about challenges in the industry, so many stories that we've heard from clients, but also solutions-based, community-driven solutions based on the experiences that we've heard and learned about. So today matters for so many reasons, and I'm so grateful to our partners in the State Senator Gustavo Rivera, Assemblywoman Yudelka Tapia, Assemblyman Jeffrey Dinowitz, and Councilmember Eric Dinowitz, who not only represent this community, but are leaders as well and are lending their voices to this movement. So far, the state of New York has enacted incredible legislation, and I want to recognize the increase in the Medicaid reimbursement rates for doulas because it recognizes cost of living and the cost of doing business. I also want to recognize the legislation that Governor Hochul codified in law, where we're now creating a doula directory across the state of New York, from Brooklyn to the Bronx to Buffalo. That is what is happening here. And so today matters so much, and I am just so grateful that Governor Hochul believes in the Bronx, believes in Bronx mothers, right? And that is why we're here at the Miriam Clinic. And so I just want to express my appreciation and my gratitude to our governor and her team for believing in the work that we're doing. This is a dream come true. $5 million is a lot of money, and that is going to create our birthing center, because we were the first in the entire city to open a birthing center back in 1988, and it lasted for 20 plus years, and now it's been closed. We've not had that birthing center experience. Because of today's announcement, because of this consortium and this collective, we are going to get a birthing center back in the Bronx. I am excited about that. And so I just wanted to say again to our governor for this affordability announcement, the tax credits, the baby benefit, it matters when you are putting money back into our families' pockets. They can use that for other items to make sure that they're taking care of themselves and their families. So again, thank you so much, Madam Governor, for being here, for being a friend, for standing up, and for delivering for the people of the Bronx. Bronx mothers matter, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is my honor to recognize our co-founder of this Miriam Clinic right here. This is a beautiful space, and I want to acknowledge all of the patients that have been in and out of these doors. This is a space that was a dream of two co-founders that came together, women of color, and said, we need a reproductive health and wellness clinic. We need a hub. We need a beacon. We need a circle space. And that is what we have.
All right, as you can see, a brief pause in the video there. It froze on us for just a second, but we are going to get it pulled back up and try to get a little bit more information on these efforts in New York. But the primary announcement, the core of that press conference was $5 million to expand affordable maternal health care in the Bronx. All right, that announcement coming from Governor Kathy Hochul. She met with new moms and families to try and highlight these new affordability initiatives. The Bronx, of course, one of the 5 boroughs in New York City, as we touched on, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani talking constantly about affordability. This initiative coming from the state government, certainly something that appears as though it'll help in that initiative in New York City. Okay, we don't have long left in this press conference. We're currently waiting for a press conference to begin from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy about holiday travel. As we know, our aviation system in the news for much of the last 2 months under the guise of the government shutdown. For a long time, not for a long time, but for a few critical weeks, cancellations and delays, especially towards the end of that shutdown, became a major issue for our aviation system. Now it's the holidays. The shutdown has been over for a little bit of time now. We're going to get an update from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy on our travel system at this current time. It has not quite started yet. We expect it to start very soon. So while we wait, we will listen in as state officials in New York talk about tackling affordability via an investment in maternal health care in the Bronx. Okay, let's head back to New York.
We need a hub, we need a beacon, we need a circle space, and that is what we have here. So it is my honor to recognize the co-founder here at Miriam Clinic, as well as the Womb Bus, the mobile unit that was rolled out. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Myla Flores.
Thank you so much. I am incredibly grateful to Governor Kathy Hochul for this gift, this investment to the birthing place and our initiative to build a birth center right here in the Bronx. We know the care for maternal health needs to continue, and we seek to do that with our very center right here in the Bronx. As a birth worker and advocate, I've seen firsthand the impact of our support to families, and the Womb Bus has been able to bring resources to so many families throughout the Bronx as our first phase of development. And now having this clinic that you all are in, thank you so much for being here. This is our opportunity to bring Mariam reproductive health and wellness services and the collaborative care that our practitioners provide right here. And so now we are making a difference through that initiative and working to open this birth center, which is so exciting. Thank you so much. Yes, and so the state's generous funding is going to help us prioritize community-centered care and empower families to make informed decisions, have more autonomous experiences, have respect and dignity in their healthcare journey. We're committed to expanding access to midwifery additionally statewide and access to birth centers statewide as the Birthing Place Foundation seeks to serve that this center will be a model of integrating birth center care into our state. And we thank you, the community, the partners, everyone who's been here supporting and fighting for the opportunity to make this a reality. Today is possible through the resources, not just the financial resources, but the energetic resources of our community. And I look forward to this continued partnership. Here in New York, we are excited to be able to create more safe and healthy health care, and that every birth be a celebration of life and love and empowerment for the families and the communities here in the Bronx and beyond. Thank you. And I will hand it over to, let's see. Okay, there it goes. Bruce McIntyre from Save a Rose. Bruce, my dear, has been a wonderful advocate along the way, and I'm so grateful. We're also grateful to have his advocacy in this fight that we are committed to continue forward.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Bruce McIntyre III. I am the founder of the Save a Rose Foundation. I'm an advocate, And this past year, I was the only sitting male on the New York City Council's Maternal Health Steering Committee. And I just want to thank you, Governor Hochul and Bronx Borough President, for your tireless commitment and bringing us here together today. We're here to talk about affordability and maternal health care, two issues that shape the lives of families here in the Bronx and across New York. As a single father, I know how tough it can be to raise a child and juggling the raising cost of living. These challenges are very real for families everywhere. And as many of you know, the maternal health is deeply personal to me. I lost my partner, Amber Rose Isaac, due to medical negligence that was 100% preventable. And I've dedicated my life these past 5 years to make a difference. To make a difference and make a change that families deserve. While we've made meaningful progress, there is still much work ahead to ensure every Black and brown woman receives the safe, respectful, high quality of care they need. I appreciate Governor Hochul and Bronx Borough President's tireless commitment to this issue. I was with you in the Bronx last year when we stepped in to invest in maternal health care facilities and increase to doula services. And now I'm proud to stand with you again here today to announce our new support for the Birthing Center and expand the resources women need in healthy pregnancies and creating safe birthing outcomes. I especially want to recognize Myla Flores and Dr. Carla, for whose dedication has always transformed the lives of so many women and families. I know the impact will only grow with the expansion of the center made possible by this investment. And I want to thank you for all you do. I trust you with my lives, and I trust you with the lives of the community. And I have full faith that everyone that you're going to encounter is going to feel the same way.
Beautiful.
Thank you again, Governor Hochul and Bronx Borough President, for your leadership on affordability and maternal health care and putting families first.
Oh, that's nice.
And now I will turn it over to another member of the community, Marlene Rivera.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Marlene Rivera. I'm currently pregnant with my second child. My first birth was at a hospital, and I experienced firsthand the discrimination, the lack of options, the lack of consent. This pregnancy has truly changed my life, and this space is a big reason why. I sought out different care, more options, more resources, and I was able to walk into one space and be offered everything I was asking for. So going forward, this support from the state, this monetary contribution is probably going to change the lives of so many women like me who maybe faced something completely terrifying the first time. And there's so much power in choice, just having the option. Had I had the option of having a birth center in the Bronx where I live, I would have went that route the first time. This time, midwifery care has changed everything about my pregnancy. I'm so much more comfortable. I'm heard. I'm confident that if an intervention is necessary, it will be because I've been spoken to about it and not just pushed aside. I also wanted to thank the governor for the tax credit and the baby bonus, because my first time around, my son was allergic to everything. His formula was $45 a tiny can. It was so expensive, and I couldn't produce enough to feed him myself. So having to confront financial burden with the emotional struggle, and I thank you very much for every mother that's going to receive this. Yeah, that's it. I just want to say, I want to make sure we know I'm very grateful for all of us moms, even Courtney. Thank you.
Wishing you a beautiful life.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, now we have time for a couple on-topic questions from members of the press. Any on-topics?
Oh, okay.
Hi, Governor. Maya Politico.
my understanding is that one of the obstacles to opening birthing centers like this is regulatory hurdles along with the startup costs to surmount that. What are your plans to address that and make it easier for facilities like this to open in the future, not just this one?
Let me give you a broad answer first. I am sick and tired of regulatory burdens that stop what otherwise are good policies from becoming realized. I'm talking about housing, for example, why we don't have more housing built in the city of New York. A lot of it is regulatory burden or others who put up obstacles to try and stop things from happening. And in this same category. So I am committed to, once we say we want to do it, the borough president wants us to do it, the community wants us to do it, we'll find the path forward. We'll absolutely find the path forward. I think a building's been identified for this, yes?
Yes.
Yes, a building's been identified for this, and whatever assistance they need from the state of New York to get it done as soon as possible. That was my first question. When will this be open?
2027.
Okay, 2027. We're committed to 2027. So I agree with you that there are burdens and hurdles, and they have to disappear. No more.
Any other on-topic questions? All right, thanks, guys. We'll excuse our speakers back here, and we'll have time for just a couple off-topics.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you out back. Right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
All right, back in here in the Live Impact News studio. Once again, Governor Kathy Hochul announcing a $5 million investment to expand affordable maternal health care in the Bronx, one of the 5 boroughs in New York City. Governor Kathy Hochul, of course, the governor of New York State. So that is what we have coming out of New York today in terms of news. Now, let's move back to a story that we were focused on earlier today. We talked a lot about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. She's announced her intention to resign after being a longtime supporter of Donald Trump and just recently disagreeing with a number of President Trump's recent policies. Marjorie Taylor Greene announced her intention to resign. We played her statement. We played a True Social post from Donald Trump. Now we turn to another member of Congress who had comments about Marjorie Taylor Greene's decision to resign. So we are now going to hear a different perspective, a different viewpoint, and that comes from Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett, a representative from Texas who has spoken out in an interview with State of the Union with CNN's Jake Tapper. She's a Texas Democrat, a longtime foe of President Donald Trump, and now she speaks about Marjorie Taylor Greene's decision, previously recorded. Let's listen in on Jasmine Crockett. And you know, Naya, I may actually pause us right there because we just listened to a press conference from Governor Kathy Hochul about affordability in New York City. And now Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has just taken to the podium in New York City, which is especially newsworthy because Mamdani met with President Donald Trump on Friday. Those two have been strongly politically opposed. They had what appeared to be a very cordial meeting on Friday. This is the first that we've heard from Mamdani on Live Impact News since that meeting. Why don't we go live and listen to Zohran Mamdani? Sean Duffy is starting up. All of a sudden, everything's starting at once for us here, Naya. That's kind of how it goes from time to time. And we've got plenty of time left in the stream. We'll get back to Jasmine Crockett, but let's go live to New York for now.
But one of the reasons we have a shortfall of vacancies of about 17,000 people in our workforce is because of a lack of interest. And what we're seeing is that is patently not the case anymore. We have more than 70,000, as you've said, and it's also an applicant pool whose average age is 28 years old. And we have already been looking into this portal to look for specific positions within the team that we're building right now. But these committees and this next stage of the transition will intensify how we're engaging with those applications.
If I could just follow up. So, I mean, I know that you want to bring in these new voices and you want to bring in this new energy. And so is that really an important part of your platform, to bring these new voices and these new people into city government so that you can affect the change that you want to have?
I think it's a key part, a hunger for change, a hunger for a new kind of politics. That's also, however, a hunger that can be had by those who've served in our politics before. I think about the day when we announced 2 appointments. I announced our first deputy mayor, Dean Foulahan, and I announced my chief of staff, El Bizgard Church. Dean Foulahan has had 47 years of government experience. El Bizgard Church, her experience in government has been that alongside me as my chief of staff in the state assembly. And yet what binds both of them is a belief in the potential of government to actually deliver on the material needs of working people. And that's one thing that stood out for me is when Dean spoke about his experience, whether it was running OMB or being a first deputy mayor, of a secretary of Ways and Means in the Assembly, he spoke about the importance of turning that which people say no to into that which people say how to. And that's what they did with universal pre-K. That's what we have to do with our agenda. Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, hi, Mayor-elect.
How's it going, Katie?
Good, thanks. One of the
I feel like you're saluting me, but I know you're not doing it. Yeah.
Don't the picture. One of the issues of
yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. You can do
one of the issues with hiring is that it can take months sometimes for people that got onboarded. I hear complaints from people who apply for jobs and they don't hear for months. What can you do, at this stage as mayor-elect, and what can you do from January 1st to speed that process up? Because that's something that really has created a lot of issues, especially in agencies like HPD where they desperately need staff.
It informs the way in which we're hiring for the key positions in our city hall. We are asking applicants how they would speed up these processes. And a lot of this comes back to OMB, but a lot of it still is endemic throughout many city agencies. And I've spoken to New Yorkers myself who've told me that they've applied for a job, they've been told that they've been approved, and then they have to wait for 6 months for their final approval. And New Yorkers cannot afford to wait that long. They will take another job. They can't afford to simply wait on City Hall to finally have them actually do the work they applied for, sometimes even more than a year ago. So that's going to be key in who we hire, how we hire, and then from January 1st in actually implementing those procedural changes.
Just one quick follow-up, sorry.
Yeah.
So one practice that other mayors have done, particularly Mayor Adams, is they take budget lines from agencies for the mayor's office. Famously, the mayor put his ex-girlfriend's agencies, Jasmine Ray, some of the budget lines from the Parks Department went on her office. There were budget lines for the Department of Buildings that went to City Hall. Do you plan to take a look at those people who are existing on usually really inflated salaries, but on those budget lines, whether it's in the Department of Buildings, the Department of Parks, and root that out almost immediately?
We're going to do an assessment of the hiring that has taken place. We're not going to hold it against anyone who appointed them and who hired them. What we are going to do is assess them on the basis of the work that they've actually done or the lack thereof.
Will you keep budget lines to the agencies and not borrow them for City Hall?
Yeah, we're looking to actually build a very different City Hall.
Yeah, all right, Liz right here. Two questions. One on the two new transition committees you mentioned, community organizing and worker justice. I was wondering if you could explain the thinking behind creating those two new transition committees and where they might fit into in terms of city agencies that currently exist, or perhaps a new agency you want to create. And then the second question was something.
Do you mind if we go first question and then you can go to the second one? So I can answer them both in the fullness of the question. Some of what you've asked is what is going to be determined over the course of this transition period. What I will tell you, though, is that these are two critical parts of what it means to be a New Yorker today. We have workers across the city who have to deal with conditions that should frankly shame us, and workers who have to deal with wage theft that is often overlooked as if it is not an issue in this city. And to have a committee that is specifically dedicated to worker justice, it acknowledges both the ways in which city government has fallen short in delivering this in the past, and also the opportunities we have to finally do so now. And that's why I was so happy when I looked out onto the room of the more than 400 New Yorkers who are a part of our transition. I could see not only labor leaders, but also rank and file union members who have experienced these kinds of struggles themselves. And community organizing, there has too often been a distance between the intent of what City Hall does and the impact of what it actually has in any given neighborhood across the 5 boroughs. And you will typically find out from the New Yorkers who live there of the ways in which it's fallen short. And we want to use this period as an opportunity where we learn from those lessons, we learn from that history, and we also learn how City Hall could be far more effective in actually executing its vision.
All right, second question is,
Yes.
President Trump mentioned at the press conference on Friday that his daughter Ivanka is friends with the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. I was wondering if that came up in your conversations with him at all, and whether, is this a way in which the commissioner has sort of the president's daughter's ear to talk about things like sending in the National Guard or federal funding for policing in New York City?
We spoke about the commissioner. I spoke about my decision to retain the commissioner, and we both chatted about the record that she brought forth leading the department of lowering crime across the 5 boroughs and starting to deliver accountability. And I use that also as an example for my commitment to public safety in the conversation we had, a conversation that also centered on the affordability crisis.
All right, we'll go Jeff right here.
Hey, how's it going, Jeff? Sorry.
Wondering, forgive me if you answered this already, but I'm wondering, are there planned meetings with the Adams administration? Has that happened? You've met with the president, but you haven't met with the current mayor yet. And then secondly, I'm wondering, in your meeting with President Trump, have you secured any sort of guarantees that he won't send National Guard or that he won't, take back federal funds when it's sent?
I made the case for our city. I made the case for delivering on the foremost crisis in New Yorkers' lives, the cost of living crisis. And I was heartened to hear President Trump share in the pool afterwards that he was looking to help this city, not to hurt it. And I'll continue to make the case with the president and with anyone, frankly, across the city, across this country, because New Yorkers deserve leadership that puts those New Yorkers first as opposed to ourselves. And if you can remind me the second question.
So he didn't make any guarantees?
We spoke about these as commitments, and I was thankful for the productive conversation.
And your transition with the Adams administration?
I look forward to sitting down with Mayor Adams. I've been appreciative of the efforts of his staff in the transition thus far. And when we sit down, we'll have a conversation about how to ensure this is a smooth transition that ensures we can deliver from day one.
All right, I've got time for one or two more. Go Morgan.
Hey, Morgan.
Hi, Mayor-elect. In your conversations with the president, when you guys spoke, it seemed like in the press conference, you guys were in a little bit of agreement when it comes to targeting criminals with ICE agents. Is there anything, I just was hoping you could expand upon that. Would you like to see maybe ICE target criminals more here in New York City? And is there anything you're looking at in your new administration that maybe would have the city partner more with the federal government when it comes to maybe amping up or ramping up targeted, enforcement when it comes to specifically just criminals?
What I said to the president is that New York City's sanctuary laws have a provision within them that allows the city to work with the federal government for a specific set of serious crimes. And that has been the law for decades here in New York City. What's giving so many New Yorkers, including myself, a deep amount of concern is that the focus of ICE's immigration efforts have not been on those serious crimes. They have, in fact, been on children as young as 6 years old being detained and deported. They have been on New Yorkers whose crime seems to just be being here in New York City. And my commitment to public safety is one to keep all New Yorkers safe, and that's where we have a difference of opinion, but that's one that I was also very honest and direct with the president about.
All right, but any sort of concessions though made in terms of like you guys maybe working together more to target just those 170 crimes, and maybe that way they can be less, going out to Canal Street, for example, and picking up migrants that way.
I spoke about the fact that that is already the law, and that we look forward to following the law, and that the law also here in New York City means that we stand up for immigrants across the 5 boroughs.
All right, one really quick. Yep.
Yeah, last week the news publication, The City, reported that the NYPD had been monitoring a signal chat of court watchers as part of a larger investigation, they said, into counterterrorism. Is this something that your administration will continue? It brought up, the controller said this brings up serious hand-shoe guidelines violations. It's protected speech. People are allowed to go watch court. Is this something your NYPD will continue?
That's deeply troubling to me, and that's something that we're going to look into. I think I was speaking to a Pastor Galbraith in Brooklyn a few months ago, who told me about the experience where he went to visit 26 Federal Plaza with a congregant of his who was faced with a deportation order. And part of the reason that she was able to go home that day was because of the court watchers who were there that day. So this is something that we're going to follow up on. This is in no way something that is a part of our policies.
Thank you, guys.
Yes.
All right, we're going to go this way to the right. Thank you, guys.
The dismissal of Tish James's case.
I'm very excited.
Okay, so that was Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani of New York City. Not as many questions about his meeting with President Donald Trump. Many of those questions focused on how he is going to enact his policies in New York City, how he's going to build out his city hall and his staff, things of that nature. But Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is speaking live right now about our aviation system with Thanksgiving coming up. Let's go live to the Secretary of Transportation.
Find a seat as you buy your gate because of the number of flights that are going out, coming in. But I think we have to think about how do we do a better job? How do we, maintain maybe some of that frustration we have as we travel this Thanksgiving season? Maybe we should say please and thank you to our pilots and to our flight attendants. I think, again, I call this just maybe dressing with some respect. Whether it's a pair of jeans and a decent shirt, I would encourage people to maybe dress a little better, which encourages us to maybe behave a little better. Let's try not to wear slippers and pajamas as we come to the airport. I think that's positive. If we can help someone as we're getting on the aircraft that might need some help putting their bag in the overhead bin, and you're a little stronger, a little buffer, you're lifted, stand up and offer to grab that bag and put it up for someone who's having a more difficult time. Common courtesy and civility, I think, is going to work well. And I ask you to please be patient with our TSA and our gate agents. And again, they're working their hearts up to make sure that this is the best experience possible for you and the safest experience possible for you. And again, a little gratitude goes a long way. And if we all do that, I think we're going to have a far better travel season. By the way, we're going to get to our families on Thanksgiving with a lot better attitude. Who couldn't ask for that? You guys can fight about politics when you get home for Thanksgiving. Let's have this be the pre-run that is politic-free and very friendly, with pleas and thank yous and a lot of gratitude for all the work that happens to get you to your final destination. With that, we're happy to take some questions if you have some for us.
Secretary, dressed up for you, sir.
I appreciate that. I actually almost wore a pair of jeans, and I'm like, I better not want to talk about it. Dressing up.
Chris Franklin from CBS News, sir. If you'll indulge me, two quick questions. One, every time we have talked to flyers in the last 2 weeks since the shutdown ended, they've told us the same thing, that they had some apprehension about whether they should keep that Thanksgiving flight, whether they'd be on time, whether it'd be safe. What do you say to flyers who are still a little unnerved after what they saw during the shutdown?
So, we talked about that as we went through the shutdown. I didn't know when it was going to end. I didn't have a crystal ball, and we saw things getting very bad in regard to on-time flights and cancellations. Well, the shutdown ended soon enough. Our controllers, as the administrator just mentioned, are back at work. And so, again, you're seeing more on-time performance in the airspace. And again, our priority is our safety. It's always been our priority. And that's why there's been a level of delays and cancellations. So, again, if you can still get a ticket, and you can still fly, and your family still wants to see you, book that ticket, jump on a flight, and don't be afraid to fly this season. Again, I can't control the weather, I can't control the mechanics of an airplane, but things look good from the air traffic control side. We are back to staffing levels that we had before the shutdown, I believe.
And on the subject of air traffic controllers, you got some pushback from the union, and I've heard from some controllers who maybe missed a day because of a child care issue or missed a day because of the stomach flu. For the folks that were there, working 5 days or 6-day weeks for the bulk of it, but maybe missed a day here or there, is there something you can do to recognize those controllers? I mean, you have said that there were some that were consistently out, and for the most part, everybody else did the best they could.
I think the administrator and I have been very grateful through the course of the shutdown and recognizing some of the difficult circumstances our controllers were going through. And we talked about that quite a bit and recognized it. But, we have to look and say, where's the cutoff? And if you got 100% on your test, you get the sticker that's a scratch and sniff sticker from the administration. Again, I know some people are not pleased with where the cutoff was, but to be clear with regard to our air traffic controllers, even those who had unique circumstances come up, maybe they would have been there, but before they got sick or a child got sick. All of them received full pay, even the ones that didn't show up as much as they should have. Everybody got paid for every single day they would have worked, even though they didn't work. So there is a benefit that comes, but this is the above and beyond. $10,000 is a big paycheck. And again, who should get that? I think the ones that had the peer record, and that's the decision that we made. And I think in the future, a lot of controllers would think, hey, there could be a reward when I show up. And I'm going to do all I can to be there every single day to serve the American people. And I know that I'll get paid at one point, but if I have a perfect attendance record, there could be a reward at the end of every month.
I'll just say this. I spent the morning over at the Newark Tower, and their focus is on not just running a great air traffic control system for Americans traveling this week, but they're back focused on modernization. They want to talk about how we get rid of all of the old equipment that's sitting there. So if we really want to talk about how we can help our controllers be their very best and do the best service, the Secretary's right. We've got to keep our eye on the ball and modernizing the system. Getting rid of the floppy disks, getting rid of the analog NAS, getting rid of the 30, 40-year-old equipment. We've got a ground surface radar here that's got one operable channel on it right now, and we don't have spare parts. So that's what the controllers are focused on, not this distraction of the award levels or participation. They're focused squarely where we want them focused, is making sure we have the safest, most reliable NAS in the world. So again, we're going to work shoulder to shoulder with those men and women to make sure we get them the right equipment, the best equipment to do the best job they can.
Secretary, the focus on civility, what's behind that? Is it the outbursts or the unruly passengers? Can you talk about why this is a priority for you now?
We've seen an uptick in maybe a degradation in civility in the airspace, and so I thought it is appropriate to. Again, you can't legislate that, right? You can't mandate it. But I think if you ask people, could we be better? Could we be better? I think you won't get a better result unless you make the ask. And so I'm just making the ask. Let's all travel better together. And again, I think it honors our country, it honors our families, it honors our fellow passengers. And so I made the ask, and I think we can do a better job. And by the way, most flights are pretty darn good. People do behave really well with one another. It's just a few of those times where, again, don't take your shoes off and put your feet on the chair ahead of you. That's just, or maybe don't play your movie without headphones on. There's some simple things that can annoy the folks around you. We don't have to do that. And so just be cognizant and courteous. That's the ask.
Secretary. Sorry. During the shutdown, you mentioned that 15 to 20 controllers per day were retiring. I'm wondering if that number has kind of leveled out to the normal levels, and do you expect that to impact either holiday travel or travel going forward in the future?
So I'll kick it to the administrator in just a second, but you all know we're short air traffic controllers, and we were doing both ends. One, we were trying to bring more air traffic controllers through the academy, get them trained up, and get them certified. By the way, we are 20% up year over year because of this surge that we've tried in the academy at Oklahoma City. That's the new controller. The experienced controller can retire after 25 years of service. We asked them to stay on. We said, will you please stay? Don't retire. We'll give you a 20% upfront cash bonus per year that you're willing to stay beyond your date of eligible retirement. And we did see the number of those older, more experienced controllers take the retirement. And again, but that goes to show you how hard we're thinking about how we can make up that difference as fast as possible. I'm not sure if you have any new numbers on that or not. I know we have the numbers from the shutdown, but any new numbers on that?
I don't have any specific numbers to share on that. I will tell you that putting in paperwork to retire isn't the same as leaving the job. So we're more than adequately staffed to get through the holidays. We are getting more folks through training faster than what we have seen in prior years. That's, again, putting incentives for the trainers to get guys signed off quickly and more focused curriculum. But we are understaffed. So we're absolutely moving in heaven and earth to continue to get through folks into training and through training without research candidates. So again, I think we've got a great plan this week to run, and hopefully we haven't seen any continuation of some of the paperwork inserts we were seeing in the issue.
And secondly, of the things that are in your control, Mr. Secretary, you've talked a lot about staffing returning to normal. Obviously, you want to upgrade the technology, but of the things that are in your control, what are you most concerned about this week with holiday travel, or is it simply the weather?
Well, listen, I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I just think it's important that we know as Americans what we're in for. We're going to have a lot of travelers on the road, a lot on the rail, and we're going to have the busiest Thanksgiving season ever. And so it's going to, with that, it's going to be a bit congested. Let's be ready for that. And again, as the administrator said, come a little early. don't be rushing through the airport because the lines might be a little bit longer. And then, tack on your best attitude and we're going to get through this and have a great Thanksgiving with our families.
Are we back to normal as far as normal flight capacity as far as the airlines are concerned at this point?
So we had in regard to the 10% announcement that we mentioned during the shutdown. The first tranche of that was a 4% reduction, and then we went another 2 for a total of 6% reduction in flight capacity. Yes, that's all been rolled back, and we're at no restrictions in regard to flight capacity.
Following up on that, will the FAA issue enforcement actions against the airlines that didn't comply?
Yes, the intent is that we will be sending out letters of investigation to any of the airlines who don't feel lived up to the requirement to reduce capacity. That's going to be an ongoing investigation. We're going to have something to report this year.
And that's important. We have a directive from the FAA. We need our airlines to comply with it. And we did an investigation. If those airlines did not comply, some did not comply, there should be accountability, and that will be an ongoing discussion and investigation.
Secretary, I was talking to Laura Hafley with MS Now. I was talking to passengers this morning about your civility campaign. They feel like it's putting the onus on passengers to create a more pleasant air travel experience. I know you're putting billions of dollars into this revamp for ATC to make that better, but can you talk about what you're doing immediately on your end to help with the air travel experience, and talk directly to passengers here?
Well, so I would just tell you, yes, can everyone do a better job? Can TSA do a better job? Can we do a better job as we bring more air traffic controllers online and we get a brand new air traffic control system up and working so we have less delays and less cancellations? Yes. Those things. Can our airlines maybe do a better job on their end? But in the end, it's my responsibility to behave well. I can't offload that to anybody else. It's me. And how am I going to behave? How am I going to have my kids behave as we travel together? How I dress? I can't blame it on anybody else. I made that choice this morning when I came to the airport. So that's just the ask, and I think I'm not trying to put the blame on anybody. I'm just asking us all to be better and do better, and then we'll all have a more pleasant experience. And it's no one has to. Again, I can't fine you if you don't comply. I'm not looking to do that. But I'm asking, let's all do this as better Americans. That's it. You have questions?
Yes. You mentioned that there's a significant amount of people that have traveled by rail. Obviously, a big concern here is the Gateway project. Can you speak to where that project is now that the shutdown is over and the FTA is doing its review, and the GDC has said they have suspended all the DBE contracts that were the subject of that review?
Yes, so I need to get an update from Transit, but I don't know where that review is, and if they said they've complied, I got to verify that with our team. Haven't done that yet, but look forward to doing that. One more question. Come over here.
The FAA has asked for relocating online. Why is that? Why did they ask
So there was a 3-year protocol agreement signed with the union to cover the relocation. We're coming up within 1 more year, a little over a year, but I think we're looking into the future, creating an opportunity that says we really want to grow, we need more controllers there. So if any of the controllers from the N90 facility would like to stay behind, we're welcome to do so. And again, we're trying to make sure that we've got the rest of the workforce trained up in a way that we can allow those folks to come. That's the desire.
Thank you for this. And just one last point. Again, this is a great holiday. Americans come together. We eat a little turkey. I guess in New Jersey they do a little 7 fishes. I'm not a part of that, but it's a great time. Let's all slow down. Let's all buckle up. Let's all drive safe on the roads. Let's all come early to the airports. Let's all put our best attitudes on. Let's have a great Thanksgiving week as we travel to see the ones we love most. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, we apologize for the audio quality on that press conference. That obviously was not great, but by nature of being the transportation secretary, it really sounds like they were doing that press conference in an airport. Naturally, in an airport, it's going to be difficult to get crispy sound quality, especially when it appears as though there were travelers maneuvering back and forth behind them in a really big building like that. So we're really sorry if that was difficult to hear, but an animated Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, talking about the holiday, talking about travel during the holiday. Hopefully you were able to gather something from that. We apologize if the audio quality was simply too poor. Okay, let's go over some of the numbers from the Associated Press on this year's Thanksgiving travel. So the FAA is preparing for its busiest Thanksgiving week in 15 years. More than 360,000 flights are scheduled between Monday and next Tuesday. So today and next Tuesday. That's more than 17.8 million people who will be screened by the TSA, the Transportation Security Administration. Now, AAA projects that 1.3 million more travelers will be on the roads than last year. So just compared to last year, 1.3 million more travelers on the roads, pushing the total number of people traveling by car to at least 73 million. So 17.8 million screened by the TSA on 360,000 flights and 73 million people traveling by car, which means, nearly 93 million, just shy, up around that 90 million number of people who will be traveling for this Thanksgiving holiday. And that comes just a week after flight restrictions were lifted that were placed on commercial airlines during the government shutdown. So it is an aviation system that has long been one of the marvels of modern society in its efficiency, even if it doesn't always feel like that when you get to the airport sometimes. But it is something that has been incredibly successful for how complex it is, and this year certainly will provide a new challenge in that regard. But a lot of people traveling to see friends and family on this Thanksgiving week, and it sounds as though our transportation systems are prepared, or at least informed, as to what's ahead. Again, millions of people on the roads and in the airways for Thanksgiving. Now, naturally, that begs the question, Nia Campbell, will you be doing any traveling for this Thanksgiving? Are you going to be one of the 90+ million people that are making moves somewhere?
I'm actually not traveling with this Thanksgiving. But I am traveling for Christmas.
Okay, so you were like, with everything that you got going on with Live Impact News, you were either going to travel Thanksgiving or Christmas. You chose Christmas?
I did choose Christmas. Christmas is my favorite holiday.
Oh, Christmas is number one on the Nia Campbell holiday power rankings?
After my birthday.
Of course. Well, your birthday is all of our favorite holidays. That needs not be said. The entire community gathers as one to celebrate Nia Campbell's birthday every year, and then we get excited about Christmas and Thanksgiving. Yes. Can I just say happy birthday once again?
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you know what my birthday is?
We'll talk off mic. Talk off mic. Of course I do. Now here's the question: are you going all the way home? Are you going to Florida?
Yes.
Are you flying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you'll get to experience firsthand our aviation system during the holidays. You'll have to come back after Christmas and give us a full review.
Okay.
All right.
I can do that.
Sounds good. No travel for me. I will be here in Hampton Roads for both holidays, but I will be traveling sort of in between. But obviously that's a much calmer travel time. So again, Transportation Sean Duffy talking about what is set to be a history-making travel year for Thanksgiving week, the busiest Thanksgiving week in 15 years. And that's between this Monday and next Tuesday. So some of that travel has already started. Again, we are just 3 days away from Thanksgiving. We're 2 days away from Thanksgiving Eve. It is a holiday week, and I'm feeling the vibes. There's always there's sort of a different, there's less people around. I don't know about your workplaces or your schools. There's less people around, but everybody's sort of in a good mood because we're so close to such a wonderful holiday. What do you think, Nia? Can you feel the vibes, or you need a couple more days?
No, I can feel the vibes. As soon as I walked in, it's like
everyone's just in holiday mood.
Everyone's in holiday mood. There were some treats and some snacks out for us here today. Yes, so we're in Thanksgiving mode, and it feels awesome. Okay, that is our travel update for today. Let's do an update on a case that has drawn intrigue on a number of levels that we reported on over the last few weeks, and that is the gambling ring that has been tied to multiple NBA players and coaches. You may remember when we played an FBI press conference where they first announced this gambling ring, both in terms of gambling on sports and rigged poker games that involved the mafia. And both of those things also involved NBA players and coaches. Well, today, Chauncey Billups, the Portland Trailblazers head coach and a Basketball Hall of Famer as a player, pleaded not guilty to charges that he profited from rigged poker games involving, as we said, several mafia figures. He was in New York City today in federal court, where he was arraigned on a money laundering conspiracy and wire fraud conspiracy charges. Each carries a maximum punishment of 20 years in prison. And Chauncey Billups pleading not guilty. And he had a bond hearing later on this morning in which the judge released Billups on a $5 million bond. What you see there, that mass of people that are surrounding Chauncey Billups as he left that federal courthouse in New York City. You don't quite get to see the former NBA champion and all-star point guard, but you see the immense amount of coverage that he is getting for this case as he is kind of escorted out by that group of people from the federal courthouse, which you see on your screen now. So that is an update when it comes to that case. A not guilty plea from Chauncey Billups, quite possibly the highest profile public figure to be involved in these sort of the dual narratives of rigged poker games and betting on sports by players and coaches that we have encountered via the FBI's investigations over the last couple of months. Sports gambling in America obviously has become a massive industry already. These types of problems now are starting to creep up as gambling has become more prevalent and more mainstream over the last few years with the legalization of online sports gambling in a number of states, including right here in Virginia. So that is your update on that. A difficult Thanksgiving week for Chauncey Billups. Okay, something that we teased to earlier today before we had a couple of live events get started sort of all at once there. We talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene. We played her statement announcing her intention to resign after coming into a number of disagreements with President Donald Trump, someone who she was one of the strongest supporters of anyone in Congress. Well, we have reaction from a fellow representative, Jasmine Crockett, a Democrat from Texas, reacting to Marjorie Taylor Greene's decision to resign. Let's finally get to that video that we promised you a little bit earlier right now.
You know what? Honestly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate. And imagine what those threats look like when you literally are someone like me. But at the end of the day, I know that I serve the people of Texas 30. And so my job isn't to be there and necessarily do whatever is going to make the president not be on my back, but instead is to focus on making sure that I can push forward with policies that are positive for Texas 30. I mean, listen, he's upset with Thomas Massie, and so he's gone after him. He's upset with Boebert. He's upset with any Republican that actually signed the discharge petition. But somehow they were able to weather the storm. So, you know, this really speaks to the fact that Marjorie, who has been an instigator of a lot of this hate that we see as it relates to the MAGA movement, It's just interesting that I don't know if she really fully understood how bad she was making it for other people. And now that they're doing it to her, I just got to say, well, why is it that everyone else is able to stand and you can't? I do not at this point in time. I'll say leadership is keeping it under wraps to make sure that we can hopefully not have many more obstacles. If you'll remember, we decided that we were going to put out a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell, and the next thing you know, the president's henchman showed up to her cell, and the next thing you know, we didn't have our sit-down talk with her, which I imagine would have gone a little differently if we had. So we're keeping that tight-lipped for now.
Okay, so words from Representative Jasmine Crockett. She has oftentimes been a vocal political opponent of Marjorie Taylor Greene's and, of course, of President Donald Trump's. You heard the quote, "You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate." That was Representative Jasmine Crockett speaking on Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has elected to resign from Congress after coming into disagreements with President Donald Trump, who she was a staunch supporter of for many, many years. An early adopter and member of the MAGA movement, relatively so. And now President Donald Trump has called her a traitor on Truth Social after everything that has transpired. Their disagreements include disagreements about the Epstein files. Now, of course, we know last week a vote from Congress and then the signing of a bill by President Donald Trump that will force the DOJ to release information from their investigations into Jeffrey Epstein. 30 days from last week to do so. That deadline not approaching until mid to late December, but just a reminder that is in play as well. And it's one of the things that President Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene disagreed upon was the handling of the Epstein files, with Marjorie Taylor Greene being a vocal supporter of releasing those files as soon as possible. President Donald Trump having moments where he said that it was silly to worry about that, calling it a Democratic hoax, before then ultimately saying that he would sign the bill, which he did, to create the law that, in theory, would lead to the release of those files to the public. Okay, let's go back to the first story that we talked about today. Let's go back to our breaking news that we began this show with. Okay, that breaking news is a national story involving the federal government of major interest that also ties right back here to Norfolk, Virginia. On Monday, today, a federal judge dismissing the criminal cases against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. 2 criminal cases dismissed by a federal judge against James Comey and Letitia James. Now, that judge concluded that the prosecutor who brought the charges at the behest, at the urging of President Donald Trump's, was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. So that prosecutor who brought those charges, illegally appointed by the Justice Department. That prosecutor is Lindsay Halligan. Lindsay Halligan had no prosecutorial experience before taking this role, and she was a former White House aide to President Donald Trump. Lindsay Halligan took the place of a U.S. attorney who stepped down amid reports that he would not bring those charges against James Comey and Letitia James. So now those charges dismissed under the pretense of the prosecutor being illegally appointed. Now let's talk specifically about the charges against Letitia James that have since been dismissed. They revolve around a property right here in Norfolk, Virginia. Letitia James bought a home in Norfolk, Virginia, and she has been charged with fraudulent statements in regards to how that home would be used. I will actually go ahead and pull up the exact charges for you to make sure that there's no ambiguity in this discussion. 2 charges both pleaded not guilty to by Letitia James and now thrown out by a federal judge. 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of making false statements to a financial institution after accusations that she described that home as being for personal use, and then more accusations that allegedly she used that home to rent out to another family, accusations she has denied, and a case that, again, has now been thrown out. So that is the breaking news of the day. That's how we started the show. That's how we will end the show. We've got about 30 seconds left in the stream here, which is just enough time for the People's producer, Nia Campbell, to get one more word. Nia.
Word.
Wow. Wow. What a way to start Thanksgiving week from the People's producer, Nia Campbell. She was planning that one. She had that one in the pocket, ready to go. Perfectly delivered, and a perfect way to end our first stream of this week. More live impact news to come tomorrow, and we'll continue to keep the vibes high as Thanksgiving approaches. Holiday week here on Live Impact News. See everybody tomorrow.